Welcome to the eBay repair bench, and on the bench today we have our first faulty item, which is the Zoom Rhythmtrak RT-123, sold on eBay as faulty, not working, in its original box with the power supply, or a power supply. So let's take it apart and see what's wrong with it and see if we can fix it. So we get the original instruction manual there, a power supply there, which happens to be a binatone power supply, and the Zoom Rhythmtrak. Which is there. And it looks in nice condition. So let's take it apart. Well, let's see what's wrong with it first of all. Let's plug it in and see whether or not it works. So we'll shift the box out the way. Get the power supply. I suppose we should make sure that it's the right sort of power supply. It says 9 volts, 300 milliamps. And let's see what the Rhythmtrak requires. 9 volts, 300 milliamps. So we're good there. So let's plug it in. We'll plug the power supply in, and then we'll get the meter out. Put that baby there, and we'll just take a quick measurement and see what we've got. Oh, is this as simple as oh, hello. That's weird. Is this just chucking out AC by any chance? Let's have a look. Ah, there you go, 11 volts AC. Let's have another look at this this power supply. Right, I don't know if the camera will focus on that, but if it does, that says that that is a 9 volt AC power supply. Now, does the Rhythmtrak take DC? Yes, it does. The Rhythmtrak takes DC. So, there's a problem. Yes, that is rather buggered, isn't it? So, what we'll do is we'll get the bench power supply and connect that up and set it up for 9 volts DC. Put 9 volts into it, and we'll see what happens. I've got a feeling there'll have been some magic smoke let out in this Rhythmtrak though. But yeah, basically the wrong power supply was used with it. It was an AC 9 volts power supply rather than a DC 9 volts, and so poof, up it went. So let's find out what's wrong with it. We have our power supply there, and that's set up for 9 volts. Reading on there just under 10, which is 9. We put that in there. Now this is a centre negative connector, put that on there. There you go, 9 volts on the meter. Hopefully you can read that. If not, I'll move it around that way a bit. Oops. There you go, 9 volts. So let's plug it in. Make sure power's off. Plug the tip in. Turn it on. Well, we'll monitor the current draw as well on the meter there. Turn it on. Boom. Dead as a doornail. So, let's take this thing apart and see what's going on. There are only 4 screws, I think, holding this together. Yep. There they are. One. I use a slightly bigger screwdriver. Bit better purchase. 2. 3 and 4. There's a back plate off, and there is a Rhythmtrak. Just giving it a quick once over with the old eyeball. Make sure there's no blown tracks. Just removed the 4 screws, or 6 screws that hold the circuit board into the upper case, and we will remove that from the unit if we can. There's a couple more on the back here as well. There you go. So they need to come out of the MIDI socket there. We'll undo that. We don't have a circuit diagram or anything for this, so you know it's going to be hit and miss whether we can fix this, but we will have a go, and that's what it's all about, having a go. Anybody can do stuff if you just have a go. There's the top. And there is their circuit board. So I'm going to have a close look at this circuit board and come back to you in a minute if I see anything that's quite obviously gone awry. Right, giving it a quick inspection, and first thing of note is that the pad around that power socket there, the solder is broken. Now we might have been very lucky. You might find that that had broken. Somebody thought it was a power supply, bought a new power supply, plugged it in, that didn't work, and then basically sold it. That might have just saved their circuitry from having 9 volts AC plugged into it instead of 9 volts DC. There's nothing else obvious on this board that looks like it might have let the magic smoke out at the moment. So I think the first thing to do is we will solder that connector up and take it from there. Let's go for the simple stuff first. Right, so I am going to resolder this power connector, which is right there, and I'm going to use solder braid to clean it off with. The best way to do it first of all is to put a bit of extra solder on there, get it all flowing, and then a bit of solder wick or solder braid to clean it off. There we go. So we will then reflow that with fresh solder. Now you see the pad's lifted. The pad itself was actually broken there, but I think we'll be alright. Yep, it's broken on the faulty side. Right, I'm going to re-solder those other two joints and then come back to you. Reflowed the 3 solder connections there for that power socket. So let's take a flyer and connect up the power off our bench power supply there and turn it on and see what happens. Oh yes, there you go. She lights up. So, simple repair. Just one single solder joint, but the good side of that is that solder joint saved the board. Because if you'd stuck 9 volts AC in there, I think the magic smoke would have come out.
Yeah.
So, let's screw it back together and see what this thing actually does. Okay, so she's all back together, and the display's lit up there. A24 is the pattern that we're going to demo this with. I'm sure you'll all recognise it. And as you can see, the whole thing is working beautifully. So there you go, simple repair to do. It was just basically a dodgy solder joint and the wrong power supply. So there are bargains to be had out there on eBay. And yeah, so like, comment and subscribe, and see you all in the next YouTube eBay repair video.
Number 2.
Number 2. Ooh, I need a poo. Number 2.